99.3 KLIN.
Well, it is law. Just got this from Krista Eggers, campaign manager of Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana. Today, Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen signed proclamations of ballot measures 437 and 438, legalizing the possession of cannabis for medical purposes and the establishing of a commission to regulate its uses, which is good. Talked about that. It's all successful. It's all into law. It'll start taking place. Deadlines will start happening July 1st, I believe, and October 15th for getting everything in place for that to happen. It's going to take a long time, though. For medical marijuana to be available for the local population, it has to be grown and produced right here in the state and manufactured in the state. So now you're going to have companies that are going to need to be growing it, manufacturing it, and creating it in a way that abides by the law of the regulators. So that's going to be interesting. Krista said this in a quote, and this just happened. She just sent this out. Over a decade ago, a brave and determined group of patients and caregivers have been fighting for medical cannabis to access in our state. They shared their stories and poured their hearts out into educating others about the life-changing potential of medical cannabis. This fight is not about access to a plant. It's about hope, dignity, and the belief that no one should suffer needlessly when relief is possible. Today, their unwavering courage has been rewarded with the signaling and the signing of these proclamations certifying the ballot measures of 437 and 438. Nebraska has taken a monumental step forward, and this is for just a policy change. Or this is more than just a policy change. It's a testament to the power of perseverance and compassion. For the countless patients who have waited, fought, and dreamed of this day, Nebraska is closer to offering the help and healing that they deserve. We've been following this all week. We didn't know it was going to go lawsuit to the court, appeal of the appeal, lawsuit, last second lawsuit to keep the governor from signing into law, but it is done. So we're glad that we heard from Krista on Monday. Obviously, it's not over. There's going to be a lot. The latest lawsuit will continue to happen. It's just that it did not forbid Governor Jim Pillen to sign it into law today, which he actually did. So good news for that. I think that's where we need to be. And if you haven't heard, here's the other thing that I wanted to say yesterday. I didn't. If you're against this like I was initially, because I had my preconceived notions of what it was like, what it could do, how it could possibly damage our society. But you start talking about medical marijuana and how it can help people. Listen to Krista's story, because this isn't about recreational marijuana. Never has been. This is about helping people that could get relief from a plant that's been around for 2,000 or 3,000 years, created by God, that has medical benefits. Mayo Clinic, they produce documents. It has benefits. Why isn't it not legal here? Why is it illegal for doctors to talk to even anybody here about it if they're from out of the state? That's ridiculous. So I'm excited that it's passed, but here's my point. Go listen to the podcast. Listen to Monday's show, kln.com, our podcast platform. Listen to yesterday's show. We kind of dug more into it yesterday. The thing I didn't mention yesterday that I want to, and I would recommend any of our state senators that are against this, governor, any other politicians, people placed in power where you can make decisions, and you're not quite sure about this yet, go have coffee with Krista. Get to meet her. Hear her story of how her 10-year-old boy, Colton, has had seizures since he's been born, and they've tried everything to try to subside those. And the only thing left that they want to recommend was medical marijuana. But since we live in Nebraska, they live in Nebraska, couldn't do it. So that's my recommendation. Take Krista out to coffee. Get to know her and just hear her story. All right. That's what changed me. That's what changed my philosophy on that. All right. If you want to call or text in the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line 402-479-1400. We've got a great show lined up today. I tell you what, lots of stuff happening, right? With the holidays upon us, there's a lot of scams that are trying to take advantage of people. The last stat I saw was around 75% of people last year experienced some type of scam or were presented with some type of scan around the holidays. So we're going to talk about crypto scans, holiday scams. Also, this 3D gun that the CEO assassin used, Luigi Mangione, We're going to find out how do 3D guns work, and how do they function, and are they viable? And then also technology, right, that is being used with AI and GPT chat and all this stuff that I don't necessarily know about. How is it impacting our society? A lot of stuff happening today. So we brought in cybersecurity expert Tristan Lawson to join us and help us better understand the issues so that we can protect ourselves and our loved ones. So if you have a comment or a question for Tristan, all you have to do is call or text the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line 402-479-1400. Coming up tomorrow on Drive Time Nebraska, we'll have Senator Deb Fischer in. We've got a lot of great things to talk about with her being here as well. I did ask about the drones that we talked about yesterday, and so she's not really commenting on that at this point, that she doesn't have any real relevant information for us. But we're going to dig into that as well with Tristan. We're going to talk about drones. We're going to do that as well, plus a lot of other things. So we love having you here. Again, we'd love for you to join the conversation as well. You can also comment on any of our 8 social media feeds: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. We'll get those messages right here, and we'll have a great conversation throughout the show. All right, thanks for listening to Drive Time Nebraska. We'll be back right after this.
Whatever the story, have your say.
How can politics not play a role?
Your station, your conversation.
It's all relevant.
1499.3 KLIN.
Whether it's your first vehicle or your retirement sports car, Link One Federal Credit Union offers low interest rates on vehicles for the hardworking people of Lancaster County. Whether you just got your first job and you need something reliable to get you from point A to point B, or you're ready for that convertible you've had your eye on to take on that coast-to-coast trip across the USA, Link One's there to get you in the driver's seat. Keep money local and call, click, or stop by Link One Federal Credit Union today. With approved credit, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
Warhorse Lincoln has a toy under the tree with your name on it. Your choice of a $15,000 motorsports toy. Play slots or table games to enter. Every 5 tier points earned is another entry. Join us December 14th at 6 p.m. when every 30 minutes, one guest will win $500 free slot play, and one lucky winner will unwrap their new toy. Only at Warhorse Casino Lincoln, minutes from downtown at Highway 77 and West Denton Road. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER. Warhorse Lincoln has a toy under the tree with your name on it. Your choice of a $15,000 motorsports toy. Play slots or table games to enter. Every 5 tier points earned is another entry. Join us December 14th at 6 p.m. when every 30 minutes, one guest will win $500 free slot play, and one lucky winner will unwrap their new toy. Only at Warhorse Casino Lincoln, minutes from downtown at Highway 77 and West Denton Road. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
At A.T. Thomas Jewelers, we have the best selection for your gift giving.
At A.T. Thomas Jewelers, we have the best prices.
Choose from our stunning selection of diamonds and gemstones.
A.T. Thomas Jewelers, 64th and O.
'Tis the season to buy at the Get Holiday Ready sales event at Woodhouse Ford. Find the perfect gift for someone special or yourself. Unwrap incredible savings on our top models, from the spacious Expedition to the rugged F-150. Plus, the year-end savings are here. Celebrate the season with reduced prices and holiday bonuses on all remaining 2024 vehicles. Browse our inventory online or visit us at one of our 3 convenient locations in Blair, Omaha, and Plattsmouth. Shop with confidence at Woodhouse Ford. Lease the 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend for $279 a month for 36 months and 7,500 miles per year. With approved credit, security deposit waived. First payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Must currently own or lease a 1995 or newer Jeep vehicle to qualify. Offer expires 1/02/2025. See dealer for details.
You're listening to Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald. Disagree with Doug? The guests? The topic? Call or text 402-479-1400 now to be a part of the show. KLIN weather brought to you by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Mostly cloudy and cold tonight with a slight chance of flurries. Low temperature in the low teens. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a 20% chance of flurries in the morning, then becoming mostly sunny in the afternoon. Cold and breezy with a high temperature in the upper 20s. From the 1011 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brandon Rector.
KLIN Time Saver Traffic, delivered by Paisanos, Lincoln's best brick oven pizza.
On the downhill side of our drive time traffic, no new accidents or major delays. Most traffic moving well, all things considered. We do have a few volume slowdowns. Keep in mind, O Street 33rd to 44th eastbound running slow, as is Normal Boulevard from about Everett to South Street eastbound. We do have several construction projects and utility projects. We'll want to watch for lane shifts and lane closures. Make sure the headlights are on. If you come across anything that slows you down, call the traffic hotline 402-479-1414. Keeping you moving with Time Saver Traffic. I'm Chris Lofgren.
Draining threes on the issues that truly matter to Nebraskans, with the occasional technical or two. This is Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald on 1499.3 KLIN.
I am excited for today's show. Let's go. Let's do this. Tristan Lawson's in, our resident cybersecurity expert. He's going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about holiday scams this segment. 3D printing. I want to learn more about that. Maybe some AI, maybe the drone thing. Well, we'll dig into a lot of things. If you have a comment or a question, call 402-479-1400. We had a call earlier this week talking about different features on the iPhone now that can protect you from fraudulent calls that are coming in, which I appreciate the caller sharing that with us. I went on and did some background stuff on my phone, so now it's getting flagged and blocked automatically, which is pretty cool. So, all right, we want to thank our title sponsor, Lincoln Coin and Bullion. They are the, in my opinion, most trusted precious metals experts in the city, the state, and this whole area of the Midwest. If you want to buy gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, all you have to do is call them up. They work by appointment only. They can handle hundreds of dollars of transactions or millions of dollars of transactions, whether you're buying or selling. And they've been around for well over 15 years, well respected, highly rated with the Better Business Bureau. This is a place to go. Don't do it online. We're going to talk about scams a little bit later on. You don't want to get scammed. Go to somebody where you can check out the product, you can handle it, you can hold it, and you can talk to them face-to-face. 402-327-2853 to make an appointment, or go to their website, lincolncoinandbullion.com. All right, scammers are out in all full force. So you got the holidays going on, people shopping, going to the malls, going to Target, hanging out, getting a little Starbucks, and surfing on the web while they're out and about as well. There's a lot of opportunity for people to get scammed there on your cell phones, on your emails, phones, even the packages that are being delivered to your house. Estimates last year were nearly 75% of Americans experienced at least one type of holiday scam. That's why we have Tristan here today to talk about this. So, Tristan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there are all kinds of scams out there. We were talking before the show, like which ones do we want to dig into? One of the things I want to talk about, and we haven't talked about on the show yet, is Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. When you go out and about, you have a computer. Like my computer, if I go out and about, I go to a coffee shop, it'll automatically just log into the Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, I guess, scams that can revolve around that. I really haven't thought about it. My mentality is this: I'm an Apple guy, and I'm thinking I'm Apple guy, so I'm pretty protected, which is probably not a good thing to say.
Probably not.
But it feels that way. But I know my phone does the same thing. It'll automatically hook up to Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. How bad is this? Like, what are the threats to people when they're out and about, especially during the holiday season, and they're logging into all these different free public Wi-Fi services?
Mm-hmm. So I'd start with the good news is it's not as prevalent as other activities where the people are calling you up and pretending to be some kind of support analyst, or saying that you need some kind of refund, or some other kind of typical scam where it's a phone interaction or even an email interaction that leads to a phone interaction. With this, there has to be some presence. You have to be in the proximity of the Wi-Fi that you're connecting to, and Wi-Fi has certain limitations, and for ease of use, your devices are set up to automatically connect to Wi-Fi that you've connected to before. But it's also just as easy to spoof that and outcompete a wireless router that's in the area and impersonate it, so that you're now connecting to the impersonated wireless router.
Is that called man in the middle?
Yes.
Oh, I just was reading that here.
Yeah, it is called man in the middle. In this case, it's a wireless method. So that just takes care of what's called the layer 1 connection between you and the wireless router. You have other protections in place. So, and really to have good effect, I'm going to need to be able to crack your HTTPS. So luckily, if you're visiting your websites that are secure, which most are these days, you're in general safe, but that's not entirely the true. This is why you've probably seen all over, if you watch YouTube videos and you see ads or those YouTube influencers bring up, oh, you should get this VPN solution. It protects you from hackers.
Right.
This is actually the use case. It doesn't in general protect you from hackers. It just protects you from you getting man in the middle while on a public Wi-Fi. So the alternative is that you use your hotspot if you're out and about. I personally will steer clear of public Wi-Fi's because even with a VPN, it can be defeated. You can be man in the middle even with a VPN.
So can they track like your, typing in your credit card numbers? Like if you're on there and you're scouring the internet and you're like, hey, I'll buy this present and that present while I'm out getting a coffee.
Theoretically, it's possible. That depends on the nature of what website you're accessing and how much feedback there's coming back from the web application as you're typing in the text. If it's text where you type in and you have to click submit, it doesn't go across the wire until you press submit, in which case we have to remember that unless you're visiting a web page that's not already secured or it's poorly secured so that a man in the middle can occur without you getting that wonderful certificate that says this site is not trusted. If you see that and you're on a public Wi-Fi and you usually don't see that, like let's say you're going to wellsfargo.com and you see that, you're being man in the middle. So pay attention to that.
So, all right. So we have that. You're out and about, you're on the internet and you're, checking things out. You have to have you want to be on a secure website. How can you identify that whether a website's secure or not?
It has a little lock in the top left-hand corner of the right next to the URL. Yeah, they've made it really easy. And then if it's not secure, like I said, even if it's just, you can connect to your wireless router at home and it's generally secure, but because the certificate isn't signed, because it's, your home wireless router, it will actually say that your certificate's not valid. And when you try to go to it, it will say, this site may not be trusted. Please be cautious. And you have to click advanced and then go through and say, I'm sure I want to continue. So that's what you'll see if you're trying to go to a legitimate website. And most websites are secure. It's been like we've gone from 2010 where 90% of websites were not secure to the other way. Now it's 90% are. So, but just because they are doesn't mean they're well secured, because there's gradients. There's a wonderful website called Qualys SSL Labs. It's spelled Qualys SSL Labs. This website will let you evaluate a website's security for its SSL configurations, and it'll give you a letter grade of whether or not it's A, B, B plus, C, D minus, F, or T for not trusted.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What was it again? Spell it out.
Qualys SSL Labs.
Qualys.
Qualys is actually one of the 800-pound gorilla giants of vulnerability management solutions in the information security space. So they're very well known, and it's actually the primary writer of the code behind that is named Moxie, and he's a fantastic SSL expert in the information security realm. So
that's good. Wasn't it back then, back a ways, HTTPS when you
that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
So is it still that way?
Yes.
As long as the S is in there, right? That determines.
That means it's secure, but browsers have made it obscured that part so that you don't even see that part. You just see the URL and then you just see a lock to make it really simple for everybody, because browser writers know that most people don't understand what HTTPS means. They just want something simple. Right. Is there a lock there or isn't there? Most of the time there is a lock. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean the lock is good. It doesn't mean it's a good lock. I'm like, oh, this is a really
like a luggage lock or
is a really good lock. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Shoulder surfing and card skimming while shopping. I asked you about this before we started because I didn't understand what shoulder surfing was. I don't even know what it is.
It's quite literally what you might think it is. Now, a lot of people that may be listening, you may have had security awareness training at your work, and shoulder surfing should be part of that. So you're just watching out for coworkers or contractors that might be coming in, or visitors, making sure they're not able to see behind you while you're working on your screen. And this would be the case for when you're typing in your PIN code for your debit card or at your ATM. But skimming goes a bit further. Skimming's been around for about 20 years. and it's getting progressively crazier with its sophistication. If you want to see an expose on how crazy it can get, there's a wonderful journalist by the name of Brian Krebs, KrebsOnSecurity.com. He'll go all out. You'll see how nuts it can get, but literally it'll go as far as making tiny circuit boards to overlay on top of the keys to make it exactly the same as the pin pad of your gas station pump at the payment kiosk. And oftentimes your vendors, like your gas stations or you're at a retail store, they don't even know that an overlay has been happened. So you put the card in and there's a little piece, barely noticeable piece of plastic in front. So personally, when I'm at a gas station and I haven't been there before, I look, I feel it. I see if it's loose around the keypad and then where you put the card in.
Really?
I will check.
What about the ones where you just tap? Because that's what I do at the gas station.
There hasn't been any skimming with NFCs, because that's what that is, near field communication. So that's because it's still there's actual PKI public key infrastructure tied into that. So if they skim that, they only get half the transaction. So they won't actually.
So that's a good thing to do.
It is, except it has other problems I don't like. Because that means I can technically charge you without actually you being aware of it. So I can attack you in a different way. Instead of skimming your number, I can still, charge you. So I can walk around and get close to you. And instead of stealing your number, I just charge your card.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fun. But there's still problems with not just the NFC, but also the mag strip. You should be slapping your card inside of some kind of magnetic bag. There's little slips you can get. I highly suggest those, particularly if you're in crowded areas. If you're going to go to the stadium or any place where there's going to be a lot of people, highly recommend you have those. I mean, they're so cheap. You put all your credit cards in those, and then you can't be at risk of having somebody just walk by and using plenty of tools that are out there where I just stick it in my backpack and I walk around and I'm stealing people's credit cards or transacting against the NFC on your card. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, there's 3D printing going on. I'm curious about that, how it can actually function. But going back to the cards, I had a family member whose debit card information was stolen. There was a charge placed on it, and then it just took forever for the bank to get those funds back. I'm going to ask you about that and an alternative when we come back. All right. The Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line's open, 402-479-1400. Cities from across the state and the country are listening to Drive Time Nebraska.
Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
1499.3 KLIN.
Have you inherited silver or gold? Lincoln Coin and Bullion will appraise and guide you. Nebraska's largest dealer by appointment only. Call and schedule your private appointment today.
In this season of togetherness, support older adults through Tabitha. Remember Lincoln area residents who just don't have the luxury of friends or family nearby or the means to shop for and cook food. 81% cannot afford to cover the cost of this meal delivery that allows them to remain independent at home. Give the gift of meals with Tabitha Meals on Wheels. Go to tabitha.org/serve and make a donation today. Tabitha Foundation is a purpose-driven 501c3 nonprofit. Your donation is tax deductible. The vehicles at Rent-A-Van are far more than four wheels that get you places. They're mobile planning rooms for your business team to prepare for that big presentation. They're also ultra comfortable and roomy enough to catch a nap on the way back. Rent-A-Van provides a moving studio for impromptu family sing-alongs. The vans are an assurance that your crew, family, team, and any group on an adventure get there in a reliable, comfortable van that has been through rigorous safety inspections. Your plans, our vans. RentaVanLincoln.com. Now open in Omaha.
This is Captain Kelsey Marino with the Salvation Army here in Lincoln. You may have been wondering why we put a giant tree outside of our building on 26 and Potter. This tree is a beacon of hope to our neighbors in need. Your gift to the Salvation Army this Christmas season brings hope to families right here in our community. Please consider your gift carefully. Mailers are arriving at homes now. Whether you mail us a check or drop your donation in one of the red kettles, know that your gift is making a difference this Christmas for a family in need right here in Lincoln.
For a special price of just $25, Independent Business Consulting is doing professional headshots. Be it the holiday headshots and Santa snaps of them to get a great-looking business photo to use on business cards, websites, and everywhere else you need to make a memorable impression at a special holiday price. Bring the family and get shots with Santa too, which would be a great photo for next year's Christmas cards. Holiday Headshots and Santa Snaps is this Saturday, 8:30 to 1:30. Get the address and all the other information at independentbusinessconsulting.com.
You're listening to Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald. More of the show coming up on 1499.3 KLIN. KLIN weather brought to you by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Mostly cloudy and cold tonight with a slight chance of flurries. Low temperature in the low teens. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a 20% chance of flurries in the morning, then becoming mostly sunny in the afternoon. Cold and breezy with a high temperature in the upper 20s. From the 1011 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brandon Rector.
KLIN Time Saver Traffic, delivered by Paisanos, Lincoln's best brick oven pizza.
Wrapping up our traffic reports, no new accidents or major delays, most traffic moving well. We do have a fire call, the 2200 block of North 82nd Street. Do watch for emergency response in that area. A few volume slowdowns persist, and we do have several construction projects. Do use caution as you move through it around. Keep in mind a portion of South Street will be closing tomorrow from South Cotner to 40th Street westbound will be closed for utility work. Make sure the headlights are on. Keeping you moving with Time Saver Traffic. I'm Chris Lofgren.
Tackling the issues that truly matter to Nebraskans head on. With the occasional targeting call, this is Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald on 1499.3 KLIN.
All right, we're having a great conversation with a resident cybersecurity expert, Tristan Lawson, helping us out here. And in the last segment, we talked about some of these holiday scams, skimming. Just be careful when you're out and about using other Wi-Fi, yada, yada, yada. I had a family member that recently saw it was about a $400 or $500 purchase from her bank account from her debit card. And I'm a big believer is like, I don't like using debit cards. Like, here's the reason why. It took about a week for her to get her funds. That was her money that was gone versus if it's a credit card. And I've had to change my credit card 4 or 5 times over my life because of fraudulent charges. They immediately put the money back into the account. The credit card companies do. So I'd love to get your thoughts on credit card versus debit card.
Oh, the way that transactions are handled is completely different. And you're not dealing with your money when you're dealing with a credit card, which I hope is obvious to everybody that's listening. But the reality is if you lose money on a credit card because the credit card number was compromised, somebody stole the number and started using it without your knowledge, that's their money they're stealing, not yours. So they're more likely to quickly resolve the situation, make you whole, and then in the back end, they deal with it with their procedures. This is why PCI DSS is a thing. That stands for Payment Card Industry. It's a security framework that's being updated every couple of years, and all businesses have to adhere to it that accept credit card numbers, store credit numbers, and transmit credit card numbers. And they're really serious about it. They will shut down businesses' ability to use credit cards, and that's all over the world. So that's a worldwide thing versus debit cards have no such security. They do not have the same framework. So there's that problem. Never mind the fact it is your money that's gone. You are at the mercy of the bank and their policies, whatever they might be, to get your money back. And every bank is different. So bank debit cards to me are Wild West. Credit cards, worldwide framework. So it's kind of, you decide what you want to do there.
I didn't realize it was that less secure to have a debit card.
Oh, it's so much less secure.
I thought it was exactly the same as a credit card. It's just, It was your money or their money.
You're going through a totally different network. And then the security measures that back it up are completely different.
So we had talked about this in a previous show, having I can't remember what it was. It was some kind of system where you can have it trace back to your credit card, but it would put out different credit card numbers or fake numbers or ghost numbers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Can you do that for the debit card?
Yes, you can. You can tie these ghost credit card numbers to a debit card and effectively achieve the same thing where at the credit card number level through this service, you can limit how much can be charged to it. So you can at least limit your exposure. Equally, you could also just open another debit card and have it go to a different checking account, and then limit the exposure at the checking account of how much money you have in there or how much can be drawn from it. And this is all based on the software of the bank and what their capabilities are. And this can be different from bank to bank, depending on the software they're using. Yeah, as well as what features they paid for from the software company.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Wyatt, get on the mic here. We're going to talk about crypto here because, well, you're the one that you brought it up. I didn't even realize the story was out there. I saw bits of the story, and then you knew a little bit more detail, but there was a crypto scam recently with a social media influencer.
Yeah, basically there was this one chick who was doing some street interview, I think in like Nashville, somewhere down there. It's this big trend on TikTok. Anyway, she blew up and she was famous for saying the line "Hawk Tua," and she's just become a dumb meme. And like any influencer would do these days, they decided to make a cryptocurrency based off that trend, and it did really well for like a day, and then it just plummeted, and everyone was outraged, and there was, I think, threatening lawsuits against her, saying that they got scammed a bit.
So let's talk about cryptocurrency. Everybody's out there. It's starting to pump back up again. President Trump has said he wants to make cryptocurrency widely available, take off the regulations that have currently been on it, wants to do kind of a national cryptocurrency, he's even said. So we're going to start hearing more and more about this over the next probably several months.
Yep.
What are your thoughts in regards to cryptocurrency? And in this case, this is probably a meme, which is like basically nothing, right? People are putting money into nothing.
They are. So the reality is I'd be highly skeptical of any cryptocurrency that's being deployed by somebody who's a YouTube influencer. I don't care if they're a financial influencer that's been around for 6-10 years. Be skeptical. If you're not willing to read the service documents of the cryptocurrency they're putting out, any patents they might have a part of it, the actual algorithms they're using, if you're not willing to do any of those things, don't invest the money. Because ultimately, if you had just read those things with this cryptocurrency that Hawk Tua girl put out, you would have easily spotted that this was going to be a rug pull and it was a scam. And that's generally what you can spot. Sometimes it's harder. There's other YouTube influencers that didn't do the rug pull until literally the day or two before. And even if you reviewed the code, if you know how to read code, it looked like everything they said, oh, we have anti-whaling capabilities, where that's where a person that has a lot of money can't go in and dump sales really fast right at the open and things like that. They did have that technology in the code, and then literally hours before the release of the general public for the coin, they change it so that it's possible. And then you just don't know. My thing is, just don't jump on any coins at all. These would be classified as meme coins. I have a concern regarding cryptocurrency at large in general, but this is just a bunch of mini tulip manias all happening, all because people are greedy.
Yeah. And one of the things, like during the pandemic, my son and I, so my son was interested in crypto. He's like, hi, Dad, I think I want to get into this. I'm like, okay, but it's only got to be like, spending money, but why don't we take a couple courses? So we did a couple of courses, and it's not easy to buy crypto. I mean, there are some apps where you can do it pretty easily, but if you want to secure it, you have to take some steps and learn. It's a process to learn. It's not intuitive if you want to protect it. And then also, if you want to do your research on crypto, my opinion is, this is just me, and you can tell me what you think, but the crypto that I have has use cases or blockchain use cases
that helps,
that actually provides a service in some way.
Right.
Whether it's protection or, whatever, storage, bandwidth access, whatever. But we spent a lot of time researching that before we even jumped in.
Yeah, you want to spend the time reading the viability of the use case, because you can have a use case that sounds amazing, but if you don't understand the technology that it's solving, you might realize, oh, wow, we can do this kind of foreign exchange thing and make it so that we can make boatloads of money, not realizing that the market for it only has $1 million cap, but somehow the currency is worth $10 billion. How does that work? It's nonsense. So it's still a real use case that doesn't match the value that you're getting in the market cap of the coin. So be careful of that too. That is happening. But with regards to things like Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're pretty mainstream. They're pretty well baked. I would pick Bitcoin over Ethereum for various reasons, largely because Bitcoin does have a cap on the amount of coins that can be created. Ethereum does not have a cap. This is something you can read in their manifests and see what's possible within it. Ethereum can have an infinite number of coins made.
Right.
So that is something to be aware of. That has not happened, but just because it's there in the code, at concerns. That's a concerning fact.
Bitcoin's at what? What's the cap? 21 million or billion? Million. And they're at like 19 and a half, I think.
Right. So there's going to be a point where there's not going to be any new ones made, which is going to create a whole new interesting thing. So it'll be interesting when that happens, what'll occur.
Well, it's going to be, you're going to hear about it more and more because they just reached another all-time high. They went over 100,000 for a little bit. It's going to continue to grow, and the more and the once it's capped, like you said, then obviously it's supply and demand at that point. And
purely supply, but it's already that way now because the amount of supply that's being introduced into the market is shrinking with each halving that's occurring when new Bitcoin comes in. It used to be you get quite a bit that comes in every time there's a halving period, and now it's significantly less.
Yeah.
So
interesting, fun stuff. I like it. I like this kind of stuff. So, all right, we're going to take another break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about 3D guns and drones. How does that sound? All right. Thanks so much for listening today. If you want to listen to the podcast of the show, make sure you go to klin.com. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Thanks so much for listening on your drive home today.
Severe weather means interruptions. Check closings and cancellations anytime at klin.com. You're listening to Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald. Sports Nightly is next on 1499.3 KLIN.
Barb Ballard with the From Nebraska gift shop.
Nothing says Nebraska like the From Nebraska gift shop in Lincoln's Haymarket. If it's from or about Nebraska, you can find it at the From Nebraska gift shop, providing the best Nebraska has to offer. With a variety of delicious food items and unique gifts, what better way to thank a client, reward an employee, or attract new customers than with a personalized gift basket? The From Nebraska gift shop, providing the perfect gift for any occasion.
Discover the difference with Oak Electric, a local woman-owned business offering premium electrical service at competitive prices. With over 25 years of experience, their master electrician is one of Lincoln's top experts. Their small, dedicated team focuses on quality control and safety for your family or business. Experience the premium customer service you deserve. When life happens, call Oak Electric at 402-440-5969 because they always answer the phone. Oak Electric, where quality and safety come first.
While the world around you seems wrapped in the sights and sounds of Christmas, for some of us, the holiday season can make the absence of a loved one especially difficult. I'm Dean Schneider, co-owner of Roper & Sons. Join us for a community gathering with music and words of hope. Our Blue Christmas service will be Sunday, December 22nd at 4 p.m. at Roper & Sons South Chapel, located at 40th and Yankee Hill Road. Roper & Sons. We can find comfort together.
Does your business need quick, competitive financing for heavy machinery, trucks, or other equipment? Currency is here to help. Whether you're financing construction equipment, farm equipment, trucks, trailers, or any other big-ticket item, Currency will automatically find the best rates. Currency facilitates loans for up to $500,000 with repayment terms up to 72 months. It's fast, easy, and free to use. Visit gocurrency.com and apply today.
You're listening to Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald. More of the show coming up on 1499.3 KLIN. KLIN weather brought to you by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Mostly cloudy and cold tonight with a slight chance of flurries. Low temperature in the low teens. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a 20% chance of flurries in the morning, then becoming mostly sunny in the afternoon. Cold and breezy with a high temperature in the upper 20s. From the 1011 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brandon Rector.
Tackling the issues that truly matter to Nebraskans head on with the occasional targeting call. This is Drive Time Nebraska with Doug Fitzgerald on 1499.3 KLIN.
We are very grateful for our growing team of sponsors taking care of us here and allowing us to do the show. We appreciate that. Like Oak Electric, great people. Well over 25 years of experience. Matt and his crew do a great job. Anytime we've needed residential work, commercial work, which we have both, we have businesses in our home. They have done a great job. We just entrust everything to them. Plus, what my wife loves is they clean up after themselves. So they're spotless when they do a great job. So contact Oak Electric at oakelectriccompany.com for more information. Tomorrow we're going to have Senator Deb Fisher on. A lot of great conversation we're going to talk about, especially since she's on the Armed Services Committee. A lot of information in regards to Syria. We just saw them getting toppled. We've got Israel going on, Iran. We've got these drones potentially with Iran that we'll talk about here in just a second. But before we get into that, the CEO assassin used a 3D gun. And when I watched the video, which was atrocious, by the way, when I watched the video, he kept, he individually cocked each bullet. I thought he was just keeping each bullet, casing, but he wasn't apparently. This was a gun, apparently, that they say right now that he actually made through 3D printing, which would be plastic, correct?
Yes.
What is 3D printing? How does it work? And how could it actually create a weapon? I don't understand that.
All right. Well, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of plastics that you can get. 3D printers are exactly what they sound. You have a, I don't know, it's just a big cube or a rectangular prism that has the ability to layer down different layers of plastic. And depending on the head of the printer will depend on the resolution or the tininess that it can get to for printing an object. With the case of this, there's probably a fairly small nozzle, and it was able to use plastic that can actually be fairly firm yet flexible, so it can handle the jolt of a bullet. But he probably did use a cylinder for the barrel.
That's what I was wondering, especially like the pin too, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to be able to, that has to be hard enough to...
The plastics can be hard enough for that, but it's the barrel that most concerns me because the plastic can't hold together a 9mm bullet.
So that's called that's called a ghost gun. So what are those legal? Is it in some states, not some other states nationally? Do you know?
So I'm wandering outside my area of expertise, but the reality is it's an issue from state to state of whether or not you're allowed to make your own gun. From a constitutional perspective, we're allowed to have guns, including ones that you made yourself. But that means there's state laws that say that you can or can't have a gun that you've assembled yourself, and whatever the definition of that is, because sometimes, it could be as simple as using a 22 bullet and having a little metal cylinder, and then you just tap the end of it and the rim fire and it shoots through the barrel, and that's considered a ghost gun. So
are there other 3D printed products that are things that we need to be concerned about or worry about or not? I mean, is there...
I'm sure you can come up with your imagination. Personally right now, I don't know of any, because I mostly see 3D printing from a optimistic perspective, like rapid prototyping, or if you need to be able to make a component that they don't make anymore for like a car for restoration purposes, things like that, or for let's say you need to make a part that's metal, you can actually make a prototype in plastic first, and then you can CNC lathe it later into the metal form. And there's actually
that's crazy.
There's actually 3D printing for metal that's coming out too.
Man, that's amazing. I tell you what, that's pretty cool. All right, let's get into the drone thing. We talked about this yesterday on the East Coast, over 3,000 sightings of drones in New Jersey, in the area around the military bases there, ammunition depot, over Trump's golf course, even down in Mar-a-Lago. And the CIA and FBI are saying, you know what? We've been investigating this, but we don't know what it is. And then it was so big that they had a hearing on Capitol Hill about this. And the senators are like, well, what is this? And people are like, well, we don't know. And even the New Jersey congressman yesterday came out and said, I've got intel saying these are Iranian drones. But yet the White House came out today, John Kirby came out today and basically said, well, we don't know for sure what it is, but we don't think they're drones. We think they were manned vehicles. This should not be this complicated.
No,
this should not be this complicated. So first of all, is it possible that we could have drones that are actually flying around from other countries from just outside of our international waters? That'd be number one. And number two, we talked about this yesterday. They call it these mystery drones called transmedium. I don't know what that is. Like it says you can like utilize those in different atmospheric, like water and air, and they can fly in and out of
right. And they actually have consumer grade products that do the same thing. that actually just came out in the last 2 years, where you can have it fly underwater and emerge from the water. So, which is actually handy if you're dumb and you crash your drone in the water all the time. So
true. But what do you think about all this? Is this possible? Is it going on? I mean, obviously we had the balloons from China flying over.
I think it's completely believable. I don't think there needs to be a ship offshore or somebody out on the Canadian border, doing driving their drones. The reality is these just could be people that came across our border that shouldn't have been here, that were already military trained, and they are now using products that were shipped to them that could have gone through our normal shipping processes, were assembled right here, and then now are being used for reconnaissance. That's completely reasonable. This is technology that's in our hands. It's being used in Ukraine right now and Russia to blow up tanks. These same drones can be used for recon or other purposes here. And it's not a huge stretch to think they're struggling to figure out what the heck it is, because there's plenty of drones flying around right now that are all residential owned, and the FAA has no idea what's going on unless you're dumb enough to record the video and put it up on YouTube that you did something you weren't supposed to. So,
well, we had the video yesterday. I won't play it. We don't have enough time, but the medical vac helicopter that was reporting back in New Jersey that there were like 6 or 7 drones, and they were way higher than they were supposed to be.
Yep.
And yet here they're still saying, well, these are manned vehicles. And we're like, well, that's just crazy.
They could be, could be, but I doubt it.
So that's just something to be concerned about. We need to be aware of it as well. I just think, and let me ask you this. You brought up a thought. I always hear like the government is always like 2 or 3 decades ahead as far as technology.
I hear that same thing.
Then is that true? Because if that's the case, they probably already have the technology to do way more than we even know about.
In some areas, I would agree. In other areas, not so much. Being part of companies that actually help them do things that I thought they solved 30 years ago, and they're still working on it today, I would say that's partially true. So there's definitely a middle, and I don't know where it is because I don't have the insight to tell you, but there is some truth to they're more advanced than we know, but it's not space age alien technology advanced
at this point
that we're aware of, but I'm highly skeptical of it
at this point. So it doesn't put it, it wouldn't shock me to know that these are actually drones or technology that is part of our country's own
could be
defense system, and they're just not willing to acknowledge it at this point. So, all right, Tristan Lawson, thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate that. Always great tips. And go back to listen to the podcast of this. Have your parents and grandparents and anybody listen to the podcast so they can protect themselves from scams over the holiday season. So thanks so much for coming in.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. That's Tristan Lawson, our resident cybersecurity expert. Thanks so much, Wyatt, for taking care of us. Only 82,800 seconds left until we see each other again, my friends. I want you to seize every single one of those. Sports Nightly's up next, and have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
From the Momo Pizzeria and Ristorante Studios, we are the voice of Lincoln. KLIN Lincoln. KVDK HD3 Lincoln. K257GN Lincoln is 1499.3 KLIN.